Okay, so here is a second skeptical question about the harm principle. How closely connected or proximate, as lawyers say, must the conduct be to the harm for that conduct to be properly criminalized under the harm principle? How much or how direct of a causal contribution must the conduct make or be likely to make to the harm for the conduct to satisfy the harm principle? After all, even when looking just at physical harm, we don't require that the conduct must actually cause harm in order to satisfy the harm principle, in order to be legitimately criminalized. For example, harmlessly attempting, in other words, acting with the intention to cause physical harm, that can still be enough. That can still be closely enough connected to the harm to satisfy the harm principle. Similarly, for acts of endangerment that merely risk harm, these are also closely enough connected to the harm to be legitimately criminalized under the harm principle. So these actions, you might say, right, they're still closely connected to harm, even if they're not harmful in the sense of directly causing harm, because they seek to bring about harm or pose substantial and unjustified risks of harm. But what about, and this is the harder case, what about actions that are only very remotely or indirectly or tenuously connected to any concrete physical, psychological, or property-related harms? For example, what about encouraging others to act criminally in cases where it doesn't actually make it any more likely that the harm will occur? Maybe because other people are also encouraging the actors, the primary actors, to do the criminal conduct. And it'll happen anyway, regardless of whether you make your bit of encouragement or not. That can still be a crime in current law. What about a completely incompetent effort to defraud someone, which is so laughably bad that it's not going to trick anyone? That's a crime too. What about market manipulation, such as securities trading strategies that are carefully timed or quickly canceled so as to artificially influence the prices of certain financial investments in ways that only cause financial losses that are very small and very thinly spread across thousands of investors? This might not harm any individual very much at all, and might only very indirectly cause harm by undermining, let's say, the trustworthiness of the publicly viewable stock prices, and thereby the integrity of the markets, whatever that is, right? That's a crime. That's still a crime. Even though the connection to any significant harm in that type of manipulative behavior is really thin and really tenuous, right? Those are still real crimes, and they are legitimate crimes, one would surely think, even under the harm principle, even though they're not very closely connected to any substantial harm to any identifiable individual, right? We still feel that that conduct, though, is seriously wrong, right? Seriously morally problematic, worthy of criminalization for that reason, because even if it doesn't cause harm in a physical, psychological, or property-related sense, it's still deeply offensive because it's a matter of cheating. It shows disrespect for others. So in those kinds of cases, wrongness seems like the reason for criminalization, even in the absence of harm. But if that's true, is the harm principle really so much of a limit on criminalization after all? That's the big skeptical question. And that's what we're going to go on to talk about and answer, I hope, in the next video.